Jesus, I am won by perfect love, wrapped in the arms of heaven, in a peace that lasts forever, sinking deep in mercy. See, I'm wide awake, drawing close, stirred by grace, and all my heart is yours. All fear removed, I breathe into, lean into your love. Oh, your love. When I'm lost, you pursue me. Lift my hand to see your glory, Lord of all. So beautiful. Here in you I find shelter, captivated by the splendor of your face. My secret place, I'm wide awake, drawing close, stirred by grace, and all my heart is yours. And all fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your love. Oh, your love. Your love so deep is washing over me. Your face is all I seek. You are my everything. Jesus Christ, you are my one desire. Lord, hear my only cry. You know you all my life. Your love so deep is washing over me. Your face is all I seek. You are my everything. Jesus Christ, you are my one desire. Lord, hear my only cry. To know you all my life. I'm wide awake, drawing close, stirred by grace, and all my heart is yours. And all fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your love. Oh, your love. Good morning. Welcome to Watershed. We're so glad that you are here. And whether you're joining us here in person, maybe sitting outside enjoying some of the cold weather that we've been having, yeah. Glad that you're here. Maybe you're online joining us via Facebook or YouTube. We're happy to have you. Want to give you a second to say hi to the other people who might be in the online world. But if you're here in person, we invite you to stand as we begin this morning by singing together. Thank you so much for singing with us this morning. I want to give you a little bit of space to greet the people around you, to at least turn and look and say hi, and then we will continue singing together.
soul rise up to meet you as the day rises to the sun. Let my soul rise up to meet you. Let thy patient kingdom come. When's the last time you felt steady in the chaos? Hear the sound when the sea falls to earth. Is it time to give up your destination? Slow me down, let love do its work. Let my soul rise up to meet you as the day rises to the sun. Let my soul rise up to meet you. Let thy patient kingdom come. As the trees and hummingbirds lead the chorus, they work so hard in their center so still. Is it time for a change in direction? Slow me down where I bend to your word. Let my soul rise up to meet you as the day rises to the sun. Let my soul rise up to meet you. Let thy patient kingdom come. Slow me down. Slow me down. Let love do its work. Let my soul rise up to meet you as the day rises to the sun. Let my soul rise up to meet you. Let thy patient kingdom come. Let my soul rise up to meet you as the day rises to the sun. Let my soul rise up to meet you. Oh, let that patient kingdom come. Let that patient kingdom come. Let that patient kingdom come.
I didn't even have to tell you. Good job. You understood the assignment. Well, welcome. My name is David. I'm one of the pastors here on staff. So great to, well, I can't actually see you because the lights are in my eyes, but I know you're there because you have this real positive energy. I can just feel it, like the force. So welcome. A couple things that we want to draw your attention to this morning before continuing on with the service. The first is, if you're new or new-ish, we would love to know you were here. Not so that we can track you or send you spam emails or anything like that, but because we don't want anyone to slip through the cracks. We want everyone who shows up at Watershed to feel seen, known, as much as they want to be known and seen, and welcome. So if you are new or new-ish with us, you can either scan that QR code, you can go onto our Watershed app, you can go onto our website, find what we call the connection card. It's a little tongue-in-cheek because it's digital, but we're still calling it the connection card because that's old school. Go ahead and fill that out, and heads up, just fair warning, someone, probably me, hopefully I have a good vibe, will reach out to you and just make themselves or myself available to answer any questions about this community that you might have. So yes, please, if you're new or newish, we'd love to know you were here. I would love to reach out to you. So go ahead and fill out the connection card. Now, we have a number of events coming up in the near future that we want to draw your attention to. The next one is, it's a new thing. It's a new partnership. Many of you know Kim Honeycutt. She is one of our teaching team members. She's also got a good energy. It's all about good energy this morning. But Kim has a ministry called ICU Talks, which we partner with here at Watershed. And one of their tentpole events throughout the year is Claudia's 5K. It is a race to memorialize and commemorate a dear friend who they lost in a battle to mental health. ICU Talks is a mental health ministry that Kim co-leads with a number of great people both in this community and in the greater Charlotte area. And this race is just a really, really important thing they do, both to commemorate their friend, but also to educate, to raise awareness, and to create solidarity within the Charlotte community just around mental health. And so there are a number of ways that you can plug in and participate in this event. If you're a runner, congrats. You can run in this race. If you follow the QR code on the screen or go to the ICU Talks website, there are ways for you to sign up. You can sort of like run in spirit, which means you make a small but meaningful donation to the race and then don't run, which sounds really cool. So that is another way that you can support, or you can just make a small direct donation if you would like the name of someone who you would wish to elevate or commemorate added to the t-shirts that get distributed and worn. So if you have any questions about this, email me, david@watershed.charlotte.com, and I can connect you with Kim or someone else with ICU Talks to answer any questions. But most questions would be answered if you, once again, follow that link or go to the ICU Talks website. But we're really excited about this. You'll actually get to hear a little bit from Kim herself about it next week. But we're really excited to partner both with the ICU Talks ministry and this event in particular. Additionally, I actually forgot what the next announcement is, so there it is. I needed to wait for the slide to pop up. Heart Math Tutoring is one of our closest and longest tenured partners here at Watershed. There's a number of ways that Watershed tries to connect with our community from a justice standpoint, and one of the most fun, in my opinion, and sort of easiest to sort of plug in on a volunteer level is Heart Math. Last week, we had Emily from Heart Math up here answering questions. If you missed that, you can go onto our YouTube page and just see last week's service. You can fast forward to the announcement section and hear from Emily herself, kind of what it looks like. But it is an easy way to make a difference educationally, locally here in Charlotte. It's a pretty minimum commitment, about 30 minutes a week. You're only committing at least hopefully for the semester, if not the whole school year. And my favorite part, the part that makes it most accessible to me, is you don't even have to be good at math. They give you everything you need, which is good. I'm terrible at math. It's literally, you can ask me about this some other time, it's literally the reason I'm a pastor, is because I'm bad at math. So So anyone, including me, can participate. But this is an organization that we really believe in. They do incredible work. And so if you're looking for a way, if you have bandwidth in your week, you can do it digitally or in person. So pandemic was good for introverts in that way. But easy, meaningful way to plug in. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And so would the great people at HeartMath. So you can follow that QR code. Takes you right to their volunteer page, and you'll be good to go. Now, everything we do here, everything that happens on a Sunday morning, our partnerships, ongoing relationships with nonprofits, organizations, individuals here in Charlotte and abroad, everything that goes on in our children's and youth space, in the greenhouse hallway, everything wouldn't be possible without all of your commitment, your ownership financially. It's what we do here. We set a goal coming into this new year based on sort of the, I'm going to use a ship metaphor, okay? So boats, ships, they get holes in them, they take on water, maybe during a storm or something like that. As with many churches, many organizations, even unrelated to spirituality, the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, in many ways we're still in the pandemic, but the pandemic was hard. We took on a lot of water. And so coming into the end of 2021, we sort of were really clear and really honest how much water we took on in the form of how much of our savings we had to dip into in order to kind of get through the end of the year. And this community stepped up, and we were able to recoup that savings and come into the new year with a goal of, if we were able to increase sort of our reoccurring monthly giving by about $500 a month, every month for the whole year, we would be able to sort of get back to where we were pre-pandemic. And as you saw on that last slide, so far so good. I think August last month was the only month that we weren't able to hit that goal. I think we were able to kind of go back and get it on the back end. We are very close to hitting that goal in September. And we feel really confident about where we are going into the new year. We have some ways that we're going to be able to leverage and use our building here by renting to some really cool companies, organizations, and individuals in our community in order to sort of increase our financial foundation. We believe that by having this approach about having people just $100 a month goal, knowing that for some people, they're going to be able to come above that. Some people, it's going to be below that. But our goal in sort of framing it that way is because we want this to be something that we own collectively and collaboratively instead of just like one or two people sort of like financing the ministry here. And so we're excited about the sustainability piece of that. And then we have some things that we're dreaming about. Some partnership-related things, some ministry-related things, some things to make our campus more accessible to everyone, especially our kids, that we want to tackle in the coming year. And so all of that is only possible with all of you sort of staying the course and continuing to aid us. But, and we've been talking about this for a couple weeks, we still have a little bit of water, to use that ship metaphor that we took on during the pandemic. We've patched all the holes. We're kind of moving back into the... I'm going to kill the metaphor. We patched all the holes. Things are on the up and up, but we still have a little bit of that deficit that we need to recoup. And so our goal through the end of the year, it's about 6 or 7% behind where we want to be. Very manageable. We have some exciting things that we're going to kind of roll out in the coming weeks that we'll tell you about. But really the long and short of it is the most important thing is that reoccurring giving. So if that is something that you are open to, we would appreciate it. If you're someone who, on like a one-time or temporary basis can kind of go above and beyond what you've already committed, that would be awesome. And if you're not someone who's in position to commit on a reoccurring basis, but you could commit on a one-time level, like a one-time gift, that's huge as well. And I say that as someone who, this is my livelihood. So I'm invested in this. But even more so, even if I wasn't like working here, I genuinely believe in the work that goes on here, which, if you haven't realized yet, is not just the work of myself, the work of the other staff, but it's your work as well. And so, even if the financial piece isn't something that you can step into, the community piece, the relational piece, is something that hopefully all of you would feel invited to lean into, because the most important element here isn't the money, it's not the programs, it's not the staff. it's all of you. And you, in many ways, are the ministry of Watershed. So thank you for listening to me drone on about this. I will return you to the much more talented people up on stage. And it's good to see you all this morning.
morning. That's a hard act to follow. That song got me pumped up. My name is Sean, and I am on the teaching team here at Watershed. And I've actually been coming to Watershed since its second year of existence, since before kids or marriage. In however many years it's been, I've been a lot of iterations of myself. The fresh out of college stars in my eyes self, my dating self, my public servant self that saw systemic injustice play out at institutional levels, my married self, my out of work but making it work self, my motherhood self, my middle years self. Watershed has seen me through so many iterations. But I have also lived through many different Watershed identities, too. We didn't always look like this, and we didn't always believe as we do now. Watershed isn't the church I used to know. But I'm coming to understand that if in my faith journey my church hasn't changed or my worldview has stayed the same, then I'm not really growing spiritually. It would be presumptuous to think that I learned everything I need to know about God or about being a good human or about living in community long ago. And I don't say that to diminish my Catholic roots or the religious foundation my faith has been built on. I say it as a reminder that the church isn't a static thing, or at least I don't think it should be. One universal truth I've always felt about the church is that it isn't the brick and mortar building or the institution or the organization. I think the church is the people. Before we landed here in this physical space, Watershed touched ground in at least 4 or 5 different locations. I have honestly lost count. I have volunteered with 5 different greenhouse pastors, if my memory serves. And I realize those details might paint a narrative of a place that's unstable, but I actually think the opposite is true. Watershed has been a place of change. That I cannot deny. But those changes, or at least in my perspective, have been ones of reckoning and growth. I suspect, in many ways, Watershed will always be the church I used to know, as it continues to evolve over time. But Watershed will also be the people I used to know from this space, some who are no longer here, but whom I still dearly love. Why am I talking about people? The notion of church as people is important, and I want to stay in this space for this morning for a minute. What if we widened our understanding of church as people? What if we really undertook the biblical imperative of loving the stranger and applied stranger not just to the literal foreigner, but also the person we don't know well? If we encompass the stranger into the people, then the church effectively becomes everyone. It becomes all community. Jeffrey Stout, in his book Democracy and Tradition, writes, "Democracy takes for granted that reasonable people will differ in their conception of piety, in their grounds for hope, and in their ultimate concerns, and in their speculations about salvation. Yet it holds that people who differ on such matters can still exchange reasons with one another, and do both of these things without compromising their integrity." So then, how do we, Watershed, lean into the space where democracy with integrity, where church with grace isn't just possible, it's a lived reality? I've often heard America described as a melting pot, and as a Latin American woman, that metaphor troubles me deeply. The verb melt suggests an amalgamation. It suggests to me assimilation, where diverse cultures adapt to resemble a dominant culture. Perhaps you've heard of the alternative image of a salad, where different ingredients come to make a unique entree. In a salad, you can see the tomatoes, the croutons, the cucumbers, or whatever, people's salads, that's a personal thing, so whatever would be in your personal salad, right? You could see the individual pieces. In a melting pot, the individual ingredients are hard to discern. The salad metaphor works, but I like Eboo Patel, who is a leader in interfaith work in America, his image of a potluck dinner instead. For a potluck is an invitation to everyone, and it invites everyone to bring something, to contribute to the collective. Patel says potlucks are civic spaces that both embody and celebrate pluralism. They rely on the contributions of a diverse community. If people don't bring an offering, the potluck doesn't exist, and if everybody brings the same thing, the potluck is boring. By nature, a potluck represents the diversity that's on the table. Potlucks are the epitome of shared hospitality, of community. It seems we need more potlucks, shared meals, civic engagement. Instead, we have the equivalent of a high school cafeteria room at lunchtime, tables of like-minded people with an attitude that suggests to the outsider, you can't sit with us. Consider for a moment who isn't invited at your table. Consider for a moment what might happen if you invited the other to the table. And I need to step back and acknowledge here that in this room, a lot of us have historically been the other, right? Brown, Black, Indigenous bodies, LGBTQIA+ identities. This auditorium is a wonderful tapestry of others. I'm using a different orientation. So what I mean in the context of today's dialogue, when I say the other, I'm referencing the person whose beliefs don't match your own, whose political leanings maybe confuse or anger you. Binary perspectives are too difficult, in my opinion. They're too limiting. Binary perspectives leave out humanity. They flatten people in untrue and hurtful ways. How do we see the human across from us apart from the institution or political party they belong to? How do we see the human as more than their bumper sticker ideology? Actor, writer, educator Bell Hooks puts it this way: how do we hold people accountable for wrongdoing and yet at the same time remain in touch with their humanity enough to believe in their capacity to be transformed? That feels like radical love to me. And I will be honest, over the course of these past few years, watching the very clear racism, clear oppression of marginalized people have made radical love a very hard feat for me. I have felt downright rage at the remarkable disdain shown to people who look like me, at the violence targeted at Black, brown, transgender, gender-fluid bodies. But rage, I've learned, is not absent of love. In fact, I don't think rage exists without love. One must care greatly in order to be aggrieved enough to use the word rage. And I think rage is an appropriate response to trauma. And while we, especially Black and brown bodies, have been conditioned to think of rage as a bad thing, rage serves a purpose. It's part of the spectrum of love. In order to love the opponent, we must have safe spaces to release our rage. Spaces where we can embody our rage safely. Spaces where we can ask, what is my rage telling me? Audre Lorde says this: to listen to its rhythms, learn within it, move beyond the manner of presentation to the substance. Tap that anger as an important source of empowerment. To love the opponent does not ask you to evaporate the pain or the anger. I'm not suggesting that making room at the table means we must make ourselves small or silence our emotions. But I do want to gently suggest that I think that there is a cadence that perhaps we must embrace. We must step away from rage. We must together. Valerie Carr wrote a book called See No Stranger, and a lot of the ideas that I'm sharing with you today come from that book. And she talks about that rhythm of anger and the purpose that it serves. If anger is included in the spectrum of love, then it cannot be necessarily the opposite of love. But then, what is? I think indifference is the opposite of love. Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel has famously said that. But part of the quote that often gets left out is this: the opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the whole quote goes like this: the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. Apathy and indifference show a total lack of concern for the other. So I'm not asking you to feel empathy for the opponent, for the oppressor, or for the person who refuses to see your humanity. Carr assures us that we do not need to feel anything for our opponent at all in order to practice love. That seems antithetical, right? That we don't have to feel anything in order to love someone. What love does ask us to do is to see the other's humanity, even when they refuse to see yours. I think that's hard. I live in spaces, I have close friends, family that I love, who I don't think fully see my humanity. And so this practice of being at the table with them isn't just theoretical, it's a real lived thing. What replaces hate and anger then? Maybe curiosity? Maybe wonder? To meet people with curiosity, with wonder, allows us to coexist in the world without the trappings of hate. When we listen, really listen with the intent to learn, through the holy lens of curiosity, of seeking to understand, we take up the good labor of love. Listening for me has become a third way, a way to engage meaningfully with people I don't understand but love deeply, with people I love but I want to just shake, maybe with people that I don't know well and don't want to love at all, the one I think I don't need to know at all. But that person's in my life anyway. I want us to maybe just take a minute. Who are those people? The coworker, the boss, the kid's teacher, the spouse's coworker, the neighbor. Here's the thing, this is holy work. And this labor of love, it doesn't always feel good. Deep listening, Carr says, is an act of surrender. We risk being changed by what we hear. The rhetoric I see play out on social media is not the act of deep listening. We do not check our preconceived notions at the door. We do not listen with curiosity, but rather we listen and read to find fault, to find the place where we can assert ourselves to say, but that's where you're wrong. Or we read and listen to find our own worldviews affirmed, to say, yes, exactly, you get it. The only person that I know that can toe this line well is Cedric on online spaces. The third way is not about agreement or compromise. It's about understanding what matters to the other person, and sometimes placing what matters to you to the side, just for a little bit. Love doesn't require agreement at all times. I mean, like if that did, there would be no romantic unions, right? If love required... I'm just saying, yes, we get it, right? So loving the neighbor, loving the opponent, the other, it's bridge building work that leans on agape love. that leans on, I don't like you, but I love you. And I sometimes wonder if we have mixed up this notion of radical love for radical religion. If I ever feel myself getting slightly indignant or feeling self-righteous about something, a little red flag goes up in my conscience. To bring myself back to center, to clear the fog or the rage, I go back to praxis. What does the practice of my faith look like? What does the practice of loving my neighbor look like? Making smaller tables isn't good practice. It's not good faith or good love. And yet I think that that's what we've collectively done these past few years. And for good reason, perhaps, right? We shuttered ourselves indoors. We tightened our circles out of precaution and safety in a gesture truly of concern for community and out of an abundance of caution during a global pandemic that is still here in our midst. It's very present. 2 years ago, that retreat was the right thing to do, I feel. But I also feel it came with unintended consequences. The art of hospitality, the good old-fashioned potluck, seems to be a relic of the past. Our circles have remained small, perhaps even closed off. Hospitality is a tool of love and tolerance. Henry Nouwen, if anybody's keeping track, yes, I mention him every time I'm up here. Henry Nouwen positions hospitality as space created intentionally free. And I'm quoting him now. These are not my wise words, they're his. A space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy. Hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. It is not to pull people over to our side, but to offer freedom, not disturbed by dividing lines. It is not a method of making our God or our way the criteria for success or happiness, but the opening of an opportunity to others to find their guide and find their way. The paradox of hospitality is it wants to create emptiness, not a fearful emptiness, but a friendly emptiness where strangers can enter and discover themselves as created free to sing their own songs, speak their own languages, dance their own dances, free also to leave and follow their own vocations. Free to go their own way, in other words. Free to find another church. Hospitality is, or should be, the praxis of our beliefs. It is the doing. It is the action that carries weight that I believe plants the seeds of change. Our Facebook posts, our shouting at each other, our posture of my truth is better than yours, isn't the type of action that meets the other in a spirit of grace, curiosity, and love. Practice is important to faith. In the book of James, we know that faith without deeds is dead, and I'm going to kind of slide around here, but James 2:14 says, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds?" And then later in 17, in the same way, faith itself is not accompanied by action is dead. Then 24, you see that a person is considered righteous, but what they do, and not by faith alone. And then again in 26, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. I think James was maybe trying to tell us something. It's a lot of repetition. I teach English composition courses at a university, and if James were my student, I'd be like, we get it. You just say it once or twice, right? But clearly, maybe we don't get it. And James is telling us over and over and over again for good reason. What is your faith in action? Your faith in action doesn't require you to divorce yourself from your feelings. Again, hospitality doesn't require agreement. It doesn't even require warm, fuzzy feelings, although I would agree that that would be nice. Truly, though, hospitality does not require, I agree with the way someone parents, what their feelings on vaccines are, when they believe life starts in the womb, or what autonomy women should have over their bodies. And for the record, hospitality isn't just rooted in Christian theology. It's a principal value in all Abrahamic faiths, which includes Islam and Judaism too. In fact, it's a value shared by many world religions. If we read the sacred texts of other world religions, we will see the tenet of hospitality propped up as a virtue, as a value. And while hospitality may not need agreement, it does require attention, presence. It requires a desire, a heart that is open, an authenticity and a vulnerability to be open to the other, a willingness to sit in spaces of tension and duality. And I get it. It may seem too much. The injustices pile up, and watching the news seems to confirm that only a slim few enjoy true freedom. Watching the news confirms the presence of senseless violence, of ignorance, and hate. It's too much. Mother Teresa said once, "If I look at the mass, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will." So we start with the one. We start with the neighbor, the teacher, the family member, the coworker. Carr puts it this way: can you choose one person to start wondering about? Can you listen to the story they have to tell? If your fists tighten, or your heart beats fast, or shame races to your face, it's okay. Breathe through it. Trust that you can. Watershed isn't the church it once was. It was less affirming. It espoused really traditional values about what marriage looked like. It even went so far as to consider, I'm embarrassed reading this. It even went so far to consider living together before marriage a sin in its early days. I've watched it change, and my own beliefs have expanded with it. In this place, now and here, in this space of already but not yet become, Watershed is in the practice of building bridges, of making room at the table. You are always invited here, but know that this place is ever changing, ever growing. The work we do in this space together is one of presence, and it is work that will truly never be completed. In this kingdom of heaven on earth work, let our tables truly invite everyone. Today, in a show of that, we're going to take in communion. And it's not going to look the way we used to do it, but I promise we will get back to that one day. I do hope, though, that you will let this communion be a symbol of a potluck. Let it remind you that you are made for community, to break bread and celebrate life together. Jesus invited his friends to the table, but let's not forget he knowingly invited his opponent to the table too. And scriptures don't give us much to go on in regards to Judas and his betrayal. We don't know the full story or what motivated him to act as he did. But Jesus invited the opponent. In a minute, some of our community members are going to come up and hand the elements of communion. And again, we're still doing this COVID style, so it's like just a cup, and you'll go back and take it to your seat if you like. And they'll be, I think, on either side. But also, feel free to just sit in this space, because that's the beautiful thing about communion. You can come to the table as you are. You can come to the communion table filled with rage at the injustices around you, angry at the ways you've been excluded. You can come to the communion table feeling not good enough or afraid. You can come confused about where you stand with God and others. unsettled about your own identity, you are welcome to come as you are. And you're also just welcome to sit in this space. Do not feel pressure to opt into this practice. Take what you need today. But as you share in this expression of communion, I humbly ask that you reflect on who you invite to your own tables. Who can you make room for?
us go forth. Oh, fill and restore. Let us be known by our feet. For the glory of the Father. For the glory of the Son. For the glory of the Spirit. Let us be known by our peace. Let us be known by our joy. And let us be known by our love.
I'm gonna invite you to stand as we close this morning by singing together a song that we've done in the past, but speaks to this place of being able to show up as you are. And I think communion reminds us of that. So if you don't know the song, allow us to sing it over you. If you do know it, we'd invite you to join us. Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken hearted, let a rescue begin. Come find your mercy, sinner come near. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who strayed. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's a rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can cure. Lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. And all who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are. Fall in His arms, come as you are. There's joy for the morning, sinner escape. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can heal. has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth 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 has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Lay down your burdens, lay down your shame, and all who are broken, lift up your face. So wanderer, come home. You're not too far. Lay down your hurt, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are, come as you are, oh, come as you are. Let's sing this together, lay down your burdens, so lay down your burdens. Lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your as you are, come as you are, come as you are. Pray with me. God, those words are a lot easier to maybe sing than to actually show up and be ourselves. There's so much maybe baggage or pain or grief that we carry into a room in a space like this with, and it's tough. But God, you remind us through the table, through communion, through history that there's space for us, that even with our intentions and our pain, our grief, our worry, our anxieties, we can show up. And God, maybe that's where the power is. The power is in the presence. And so God, may the moments that we've had this morning not be the only moments where we can show up and be ourselves, or we can be fully present. May we find space throughout the week. May we find relationships where we can trust and give of ourselves to be fully present. And God, may those relationships, those moments change us. May they open our eyes to the divine nature that exists in every single one of us. May we become more awake to your presence in us. And then, God, may we see that in others. May we see the divine presence in others. God, we love you. We love each other. We pray all this in your name. Amen. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new and you'd like to talk with somebody, David's going to be in the back of the room. He'd love to chat with you. Hope you have a great Sunday. We'll see you next week.